recording on the GoPro. We're just north of Greencastle, Indiana. I'm riding the electric bike, HeyBike BRAWN, which is being kind of noisy tonight. I've got to make a brake adjustment on it, which I forgot to do today. I had to remove the rear wheel to install fenders on the front and back. And the geometry, after putting the wheel back on, is just a little bit different. It's making for noise on the brakes, which is really annoying. It used to be really quiet. So some adjustments are in order. We're not going very far tonight. Well, actually not much farther tonight. We've been out riding for a while. So we've been all the way from downtown, up north, heading out country roads. This road is along the railroad tracks north of town. It's along the CSX Monon subdivision, which doesn't see trains very often, maybe 4 or 5 times a week, I'm guessing. Elizabeth is back there on her mountain bike. We're using the Sena wireless communications, which straps onto the straps of your helmet. Make a little stop up here and check the brake caliper again, make sure it's not getting hot. It's just barely doing whatever it's doing to make noise. So I'm going to hop off the bike here for just a second. It is about 7:35 p.m. on Friday, September 22nd.
22nd. Tomorrow is the first day of fall.
Yeah, brake calipers, I'm not going to say cold, just a little bit warm. Nothing to present really an issue. That'd be a pretty photograph right there with the train coming through.
If there was a train passing through.
Right here. Take a train.
Yeah.
The house up on the hill. Beautiful photo. See if I can mark that spot on my phone. Go into the Google Maps and see if we can put a pin here. Drop to 10. There we go. Beautiful evening out here.
It is.
I think sunset's coming up probably in a few minutes. Can't see the sun, of course, but might get some pretty color in the sky. We've got all our lights turned on for visibility out here in the country. Yeah, yesterday I installed the fenders and bike rack on this HeyBike Prime, or HeyBike BRAWN. And unfortunately, to get to one of the screws for mounting the rear fender, you've got to deflate and squeeze the tire to be able to get up to the inside of the fender and put the screw in. But the other one used to go on without removing the fender, but they decided to change the design where there's a little hole for the screw in the fender and it goes up right into the bike frame, which is, you know, a nicer look, but pain in the butt because you got to drop the wheel tire, and on these electric bikes you've got to make sure the cabling to the motor doesn't change its alignment. And I've not adjusted, I've never had to adjust hydraulic brakes, so I'm going to have to go to YouTube University tonight and learn the nuances of adjusting hydraulic brakes. My road bike has the same style of brakes, they're hydraulic, but I've never had to make an adjustment on those. So I'll either do it myself, or I know of a couple of bicycle mechanics here in Greencastle. Derailleur could probably use just a little bit of adjustment as well, and I've not adjusted those in many years, so maybe a visit to the local bike mechanic would be a good idea. Trash along the road there. I forget what they call this bridge. It goes over Big Walnut Creek. I'll see if I can give you a little view of the creek here. It's pretty low right now. It is very, very low. That is looking west. Big Walnut Creek looking west. And then we'll move a little bit here. The other side, and that is Big Walnut Creek looking east. The water level's pretty low, or seasonably, typically low. I don't know how much lower it gets. I'm not out here that often. This used to be an old iron bridge that was replaced. And if we go far enough tonight, we'll get to the bridge that is the next bridge to the east. I think that one might have been called Crow's Bridge, but don't quote me on that. That name seems to come to mind. And it was an old iron bridge. And I think they hauled that, took it apart, took the pieces up to northern Indiana and reassembled it, cleaned it up. I believe it's in a park up in northern Indiana. You hate to see it every time we lose one of our iron bridges. Putnam County has a number of them. My favorite is probably the Pinhook Bridge. And the Pinhook Bridge was decommissioned or made a ghost bridge when they closed the country road, and the bridge had no longer any need to carry traffic because they closed the road, and they dropped some concrete pillars at the east end of the bridge. I don't think you can even get a bicycle onto it. If you're a heavier person, you probably can't even get onto the bridge yourself. You've got to squeeze between the concrete pillars. That's the Pinhook Bridge, and it's on Big Walnut, and it's further east of these bridges. Starting to cool off a little bit. It was 81 degrees earlier when we were thinking about heading out. Of course, I didn't get moving quick enough, and it was probably almost 6:45, 6:30 before we hit the road. And now it's almost 7:45 till 8. eventually come up to a Y in the road here. And we're going to take the, we're going to keep right. On these evenings approaching fall, it does cool off quickly. Not much cloud cover, so it will definitely cool off a lot faster than on a cloudy evening. Ride slow enough and it's not very chilly, but get much above 15 miles an hour and it's pretty cool. Alrighty, I love these Sena Pi communication devices on our helmets. Elizabeth is back there probably 100 yards, and she can warn me when there's traffic coming up behind before I even see it in my mirror. Going this route, if we do the full loop, we're going to cross the railroad tracks 3 more times. And these tracks will be they're not the main tracks that run north of Greencastle. These are, this is the Monon subdivision on CSX. Doesn't see much rail traffic. I think they bring ethanol cars down maybe once a day, another car. We're pretty well lit with bicycle lane. I'm going to pause here. Yeah, I see you way down there. I've got the camera on you. Well, we got about 50% moon, maybe a touch over 50%. You said the moon's waxing now? I'm on a hill here, so I need to keep my hand on the brake. I can't. It's a continuous video. I know you're struggling. It's a steep hill. Walk it. You've been going up a lot of steep hills here lately. Yeah. And when you start riding your road bike, your hybrid, it's going to be a lot easier for you. You know, it's a mountain bike. It's not designed for the road. Obviously. Elizabeth wanted to ride. We got that for $69 at Walmart. Actually, bring it up here and show it off in front of the camera. 69 bucks at Walmart.
It's a Schwinn.
It's a Schwinn. It's got hydraulic brakes on it.
Sidewinder.
I think maybe a 21 speed. It's got 3 gears in front, and I think the cassette's got 7 gears in the back.
In the back.
So it's a 21 speed mountain bike. 69 bucks. We figured she didn't want to ride a road. She hadn't ridden in years, so she didn't want to be riding her road bike this summer.
And wrecking it.
And wrecking it, you know, because you sit a lot taller on that. You can't, you know, if you're a new rider, you can't come to a stop as gracefully. You run the risk of, you know, tipping, and if you tip a little too far, you're just going to go down with the bike. So, 69 bucks. I've added some lights to it, and a mirror, and a lock. But we thought, well, we just get this, and, you know, we could probably sell it for what we paid for it when you're done riding it. But we might take that on a few camping trips where we load up the e-bike and a bike for her, and or we might be riding more on trails. So
especially off the beaten path trails.
Probably hang on to that, and then she'll start riding the road bike later on. And I took the drink holder. I had a drink holder I liked better, so and that would seem to fit her bike perfectly. So I took the drink holder off the HeyBike BRAWN that I'm riding, and I put that on her bike. I don't know if you can see it in front of her ears. That's the Sena Pi wireless communication system. Let me scoot up a little closer to her. If you crouch down low and lean forward, you'll be on camera. And it clips onto your straps for your helmet. And it's only good up to 2 riders. They've got some helmets that will allow 4 riders to communicate, and a couple of higher end models that allow, I think, unlimited riders to communicate. I'm sure there's a practical limit to that, but for us this worked out perfectly. We just needed something where we could ride together and, you know, still hear each other, have communication. Noise has died down a little bit. Well, yeah, it's, you know, if it's making noise on one of the brake pads, it's just going to wear down the brake pad a little bit. Downside is I'll have to replace the brake pads a little sooner than I would have otherwise, but they're not super expensive. And I'll probably end up getting higher quality brake pads when I do replace them. I'm guessing the brake pads will wear quicker on this. I think it's got 2 piston brakes. I think that's what I've got on my road bike. My guess is, you know, they're just average quality. I'll probably get, it's got 180 millimeter diameter discs, which is about the best I've seen on most of these e-bikes. I think I've seen a couple that had 200 or 220, but those had over 750 watts motor. And technically, I believe if you get over 750 watts in Indiana, you need a motorcycle endorsement on your license. I think it's got to be 750 watts motor or less to be considered an e-bike in Indiana. Comment if I'm wrong, but I think that's what I read. Now I'm riding this as a Class 1 e-bike right now. I can go in and change the setting and bump that up to Class 2 or Class 3. But riding with Elizabeth, you know, I'm never beyond Class 1 or Class 2 at the most. Putnam County is a beautiful place to ride a bike. There's not that much traffic on a lot of these country roads if you pick the correct roads. We're going to come to a T up here and make a right. I can't remember if after downloading videos from the GoPro, I can't remember if I put in a fresh battery. You know, downloading videos takes a little bit. Oh, do you hear what I hear? I hear a train horn. Elizabeth, this next road is going to be mostly flat. There's a little downhill where it makes a curve to bypass a graveyard. This is not a very steep grade, but it's a long grade uphill. I know Elizabeth is feeling it back there. Are you still walking it? Oh, okay. No shame in walking your bike up a steep grade. We eventually would like to get an e-bike for Elizabeth, but I'm not sure what model yet. I don't know if it'll be a HeyBike, or I saw another one reviewed recently that looked pretty good. Can't recall the name, but it was a 750 watt motor, hydraulic brakes, I think 8 speeds, step through frame. I think on sale it's $13.95, which isn't bad. It's about 150 bucks less than I paid for the HeyBike. HeyBike's got good acceleration. My battery's, I believe, probably less than 50% now. Through some wavy pavement. This hydraulic fork on the front really does soak up the bumps. Probably better than most of the other e-bikes because it's got a pretty tall fork with a lot of travel. I'm going to check the temperature, see what it is now. 74 degrees, so we've dropped about 8 degrees, 7 degrees pretty quickly here in the last hour or so. Doing okay back there? Got a little hill coming up, but then we've got some downhill or level. I don't think this hill's quite. I don't think this is quite as steep a grade as we just came up. That train I heard could have been CSX, but there's not many grade crossings north of Greencastle until you go out east, or pretty far, or really far to the west. So when you hear a train horn on the north end of Greencastle, quite, repeated, quite often it's on the CSX Monon subdivision, where it may be going through a lot of grade crossings on the east side, the west side of Greencastle. We like to come out to several locations and photograph and video trains. Just something we found to be rather relaxing. Yep, I see it back there. I don't know if you recognize this left-hand turn here, but that's where we turn when we're taking the country route up to Bainbridge to the Darriette. I'm going to stop up here at the top of this hill. You take your time. Railroad tracks in 1 mile. All right, I'm going to pause here. Up ahead is a graveyard, and the road will kind of bend off to the left and go around the graveyard. I have no idea what the name of the graveyard is. It's one of the smaller out in the country type graveyards. If you want, we can take a little rest when we get up there to the graveyard. It's downhill slightly from here to the graveyard. Yeah, we're well over half the route back to town. Peaceful out here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Makes me want to go camping.
Me too.
Elizabeth and I are thinking about doing some stealth camping.
Like our friend Steve.
Yeah, camping with Steve. I don't know if you've seen him on YouTube or not, but we've been watching his videos for probably a couple of years now. And he goes out and camps in the middle of fields and along streams and under bridges. His latest video, he's under a bridge. So he calls that stealth camping, and that's something that's gotten really popular. There's a bunch of YouTube channels now with stealth camping. And now that I've got the bike rack on this HeyBike BRAWN, I ordered a couple of what do you call them? So they're saddlebags. I think they call them Penards or something like that. It's got a weird name, but Penards, I don't know. But I ordered some, pretty inexpensive, about 50 bucks on YouTube, or not YouTube, but 50 bucks on Amazon. And they've got enough space to pack up, you know, a small campsite like you would take with your backpacking. But if we do that, we're going to have to do it pretty darn soon. Otherwise, it's going to be too cold, because there's just so much insulation you can pack and keep it light. That's the graveyard. I do not know the name of this graveyard. It's very nicely maintained. Very peaceful place out here in the country. We won't be doing any stealth camping at a graveyard. Yeah, I'm not worried about spirits. As my grandmother used to say, my grandfather was a mortician and they had a funeral home in West Virginia. And as my grandmother said, told my mom and us kids many times, it's not the dead ones you have to worry about. And their living quarters, their home was above the funeral home. So as impressionable young children going there for a week or two on vacation in the summertime to stay with our grandparents, we were always well aware that there were dead people downstairs. But I think we got used to it. After we crest this hill, it's downhill and then level. Railroad tracks are up here. We're about, since we left the city limits, we're probably 2/3 the way back to the city limits. Maybe there's a couple of hills before the railroad tracks. I think the railroad tracks are over that last hill up ahead. Probably only come about 5 miles since we left the city limits. Maybe, I don't know, I had the bike turned off for a minute, which resets the, doesn't reset the trip on the phone, but it resets the odometer on the display. In fact, can you still hear me, Elizabeth? We're gonna go past, taking this route, we're gonna go right past where we found the butters, your adopted kitties. Yep, Meadow and Kodachrome. For some reason, I've been researching the history of Kodachrome film, and that was about the time we needed a name for Koda. And Kodachrome came to mind. I don't know why. So we call him Koda, K-O-D-A. Got a little respite here from the hard pedaling. It's a gradual downhill grade. Skies are mostly clear at this point, helping the temperature drop quickly. These country roads are always a lot longer than you remember when you take them with a bicycle. Doing 12.6 miles per hour. Of course, it always looks like you're going faster with these GoPro cameras because they're a very wide angle lens. And if you're riding a ridge where there's a drop off to the left and the right, it looks like you're riding a really steep, dangerous ridge when there's nothing of the sort. Got Elizabeth right behind me. I'm surprised how little wind noise from riding, virtually no wind noise in this GoPro. The only wind noise I heard was the other day when we were at the park and I was riding into the wind. Heard just a little bit of wind noise, but the wind was blowing pretty good that day. I believe that was on, was that Tuesday or Wednesday? That was Tuesday we went to the park. It's going to be definitely total darkness by the time we get home. I think for people that are new to riding an e-bike, the most dangerous part of that is if you've been riding a road bike for a long time, your right hand has priority on the brake. So you've learned that you lead with the right hand when you start your braking and then add a little bit of assistance with the left hand. Right hand being your rear brake and your left hand being your front brake. Well, I've known several already that have gone over the handlebars. No serious injuries, but I know several that have gone over the handlebars because they clamped down on that left brake, which of course locks up your front wheel, and the inertia of the bike just takes you right on over the front wheel. Yeah, I don't know if the camera will catch that or not. I'd have to lean way over here. And of course that moon's going to look like a little pinhole,
Yeah, but
with this wide angle lens.
it's still pretty.
You can probably see it. Probably a little white dot on this GoPro camera. But this is CSX Modon subdivision. And it is, what mile mark are we at? Well, this is mile marker 173.75. And I don't know if they probably start numbering up north. I'm familiar with the mile markers on the CSX main, but not really on this subdivision. Definitely getting cooler out. Definitely feeling it when I get up to about 15 miles per hour. It's rather chilly. Elizabeth, you know where we're turning here, don't you? Do I go straight or right? Which way? Right? You got it. We've been down this road before. Mostly in the wintertime when we get a snowstorm, or when it's flooding. We've seen this road flooded a couple of times. Just up here flooded. There's a creek on the left. I don't know what creek that is. It's a small tributary into Big Walnut. But where I'm riding now, and between me and where that car is where the flooding was. It was maybe 6 inches, 8 inches depth across this road, the worst I've seen it. That's when that creek to our left swelled up. Now it's getting dark enough. I'm going to turn on my flashlight. This is an Emerald MS-03. It's a 13,000 lumen pocket carry flashlight. It's only about, not more than 3 inches long, maybe 2.5, 3 inches long, inch in diameter. But on turbo mode, it will put out 13,000 lumens. We'll hit that real quick. So it throws an enormous amount of light in turbo mode. It's also got a strobe. But now we're back on the lowest setting. It'll run for a few days on this low setting. I've been using it a lot lately and I haven't recharged it yet. I just keep this. I've got a lot of other Emerald lights. I just keep this one on the bicycle. I used a GoPro mount that attaches where the handlebars attach. There's normally 4 screws there, and it attaches to 2 of the screws, has a couple standoff posts, and it gives you a mount for a GoPro. But I'm not using that for the GoPro. I put another mount on there that lets you attach a flashlight on a GoPro mount. Got both those on Amazon. And there's a rubber strap that goes around the flashlight. And it's a nice mount for adding a small flashlight to your bike. The HeyBike's got a decent light, but as you can see, if I turn off my flashlight, it doesn't illuminate very much directly in front of the bicycle. And I like to have a little bit of fill light. Now we're getting ready to cross the CSX Monad subdivision tracks again. And right up here is where we parked when we went looking for the dumped kitties. Right there, we parked on that little road there. We got a car coming. Let's go ahead and get over the tracks. And right about here in the grass is where we found the dumped kitties. Somebody had posted on Facebook about, I don't know, a half an hour before I saw it, that they found some abandoned cats, 2 cats, a mom and her baby, dumped alongside of the road. And right there, about no more than 3 feet off the road, we found a can of food, a little kitty toy, and 2 kitties. Actually, Mama was here close to the food, And up there, probably 30 feet further, when I shined the big flashlight, I had a huge searchlight with me. And when I shined that flashlight on the road, that little kitten came running out onto the road. So I'm certain if we hadn't gotten those cats, that little kitten would have run out in front of some headlights and likely gotten hit by a car.
It didn't take us long to acquire them, did it?
They came right up to us.
They came right up to us.
The person that posted on Facebook said, I think it was her boyfriend, tried to pick up the cats, and they scratched the heck out of them. They didn't want to be picked up. Fortunately, maybe they had more time to think about it, but when we got here, probably, I don't know, 30 or 40 minutes later, they were, you know, very happy to be picked up and taken.
Yeah, Meadow was the first one that came to me. She came right to me.
And then Kitten,
Yeah,
I picked up the kitten, and they just snuggled in our arms, no scratching or complaining. We had 2 kitty carriers with us. We loaded them up, and they didn't give a single complaint being put into a kitty carrier. So I think they kind of realized that being put in kitty carriers was much better than it being dark outside and them being on their own. But the fact they stayed in that one spot leads me to believe they didn't belong to anyone around here, because they stayed in that spot for, I'm thinking, at least an hour until we got there. But Elizabeth had already gone to bed in her room, and I was getting ready for bed when I saw that post on Facebook. So I woke up Elizabeth and asked her if she'd be up for going out in the country and rescuing a couple of kitties, and she was all for it. And Elizabeth had lost her cat, who was, I think, almost 16 years old. He was 16, almost 17, and he passed earlier that spring. And originally I thought we were just saving the cats to, you know, have them adopted out, but we got them home and they were just so adorable. And you know, since Elizabeth didn't have her kitty anymore, we were very open to the idea of just bringing them into the family. Yeah, they're very affectionate kitties and very active too. Anytime she opens her bedroom door, they want to burst out and run around the house. Sometimes we'll just let them out to run around the house. Another car coming ahead. I've always preferred to ride country roads rather than bicycle trails. Not getting as much brake noise now, but still I think I'll take the bike to someone, let them adjust the brakes, adjust the derailleur, make sure the chain's dropping into the right gears on the cassette. This would have been a good camping night. I've I've got two tents in really good condition, but they're not really suitable because of their size. They're not suitable for taking on a hike or a bike ride. So I may have to get a quick and dirty little cheapo Chinese tent for camping if we decide to do the stealth camping thing. Although we're going to cheat a little bit on stealth camping, we're going to camp adjacent to a neighbor's property out in the country. So they will know what we're doing. That way, should we be have a run-in with the law, we can tell them the truth that yes, we have permission to be here. We've got the place in mind. Just a slight downhill grade, almost imperceptible. So I've got Elizabeth right behind me. Got a car back there, I believe. Yep. Another car. Now I've got a flashing tail light. The main headlight is powered off the car. Main headlight is powered off the battery of the e-bike. Tail light's rechargeable. Comes with the bike. I've got another tail light that has turn signals, senses your braking. I did have it mounted on the seat post, but I tried to move it back to the to where there's a mount on the bicycle rack. But in the process of doing that, I screwed it up and broke the mount. So I've got another one of those coming in tomorrow. It's also got a bike alarm, which is nice. If someone touches your bike or moves it the least little bit, it really screams. So I like that light real well. I wish I hadn't boogered it up and broken it, but this is the other bridge. I think this used to be Crow's Bridge, an old iron bridge that they dismantled, took up north, reassembled, and put in a public park, if I'm correct. I don't know if they call the new bridge Crow's Bridge or not. It's probably just county bridge number XXX. And it's too dark to really show you any of the Big Walnut Creek. iPhone might pick it up, but not this GoPro. It's GoPro Hero 11 is the model I'm using. I don't know if their new Hero 12 is better in low light or not. But I'm not keen on spending another $400. Got our final crossing of the the CSX Monon subdivision coming up. And then a little further up here, we'll go over top of, on a bridge, we'll go over the CSX main. I might bump this light up one more setting. As dark as it is outside, might get a little clearer image on the GoPro. Oh, you're right up here with me, Elizabeth. You're keeping up well. We're heading north. Excuse me, we're heading south, almost directly toward the moon. And here's the railroad crossing. It was last Friday night I charged the e-bike, and we're below 50%. I'm not sure how many miles we've ridden. I've ridden 120 miles in the last couple of weeks. I've been getting, I believe I've only charged this battery, other than the initial charge, I've only charged this battery once. That was last Friday. And I've ridden 120 miles total. I'll have to go back and check my notes, but I'm getting, I think, more than 55 miles out of the charge. Maybe I've charged this thing twice since its initial charge. That's fine. I'm going to stop when I get to the top of this hill. It is, I'll look when I get up here. We're going to be out and about tomorrow. I think we'll go by Darriette tomorrow on the way out to take pictures of the Putnam County Antique Tractor and Machinery Association Plow Day. That way we can just take our milkshakes with us. I think it's up north of Greencastle. Might be up near Roachdale, so Bainbridge is right on the way. So I think tomorrow would be a good day to go up there for milkshakes. Darriette's our local dairy barn that we prefer. There's one in Greencastle, but we like to go up to Darriette in Bainbridge, Indiana. We ordered a couple of their t-shirts. They were out of stock when we tried to get t-shirts, so we ordered a couple. And I got a text yesterday saying they're in. I thought they had a nice t-shirt design, so we each got a t-shirt. It is really cooling off. I'm coming to a stop up here. I think the brake is quieted down a little bit since we've been riding. It's cold enough that my nose is running a little bit. It's always kind of irritating. Elizabeth, can you hear me back there? I've crested the hill and she's quite a ways back walking her bike. Yep, I got the double beep, meaning she dropped out of range. The Sena headsets, or not really headsets, communication system that clips onto your helmet, they're pretty good about reconnecting. We found it to be a little bit of a pain in the butt getting them initially connected when you go to ride, because you've got to go into the app. You're supposed to be able to press some buttons and connect directly, but that never seems to work for us. So we each have to go into our app on the iPhone, select the other person's name for the connection, looking into connection history, and then selecting the other person. Then one of us has to press the bottom button and it'll connect up. I see Elizabeth's bike back there. Can you hear me now? No, I'm still getting the double beep of lost communication. She's still back there a ways. Are we connected? She's approaching at a pretty slow rate. She's walking her bike. We've come almost 7.5 miles since we left Greencastle city limits. That's when I started recording my ride. I forgot to start recording when we left. Yep, hopefully we're going to connect up. I'm getting the double beep that is trying to reconnect. I'm getting the double beep. Are you hearing a beep beep? Are you hearing a double beep?
No.
Oh.
No more.
Hold on, let me press my bottom button. Press your bottom button for just a moment. Did you?
Yeah.
Okay. Press my bottom button. Can you hear me now?
No. Maybe you turn it on. Okay.
Oh, you had yours turned off, that's why.
It turned itself off.
Oh, okay. Let's see if I can push the button and reconnect.
Connected.
Can you hear me?
Not yet. Oh, I hear you now.
No.
Good.
All right. Maybe they'll do a firmware update and make these things a little easier to use. Extend the amount of time it tries to reconnect before timing out. You get back in range usually within a couple of minutes. It just automatically reconnects, but much longer than that, you run the risk of it just disconnecting. Then you got to push a few buttons to reconnect. See an aircraft off there in the distance. I don't know if the GoPro will pick it up. Back into the low mode on this light. There we go. doing under 10 miles per hour. Always looks a little faster on the GoPro. I think after we cross the bridge up here that goes over the CSX main tracks, I'm probably going to stop the video at that point. If I keep going straight into town, in fact, that's probably the route I'll take. If I keep going straight, it becomes 10th Street in Greencastle. We'll pass the Greencastle Presbyterian Church, Putnam County Playhouse. Both those are just ahead, about where that car's headlights are. Just a little bit beyond where that car's headlights are is Greencastle Presbyterian Church and Putnam County Playhouse. I'm going to pause here on the bridge for a minute. I don't see any train headlights to the west, and I don't see any to the right. I do see a green signal. There's a green down there. I can see the green down there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a big signal the other way.
So a lot of those signals don't come on until there's a train nearby. So my guess is there's going to be a train coming from the west headed east. Anyway, I'm going to turn off the GoPro for now. You all have a great evening. Until the next time.